What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony, Mike, and our special guest, Dena. And we are doing a
Dena.
CONjuration wrap up. We are going to discuss the CONjuration convention that we all attended this past weekend. And we have Dena on here because she is a longtime friend of the podcast. She is a faithful and loyal listener of the podcast, and she is also our co-panelist on a few of the panels that we did at the convention. So welcome, Dena.
How are you? I'm glad
Dena
to be here.
Is the bomb.
Hi, hybrids.
Hi. This is going to be so weird when you listen to this episode. You're going to be like, wait, that's my voice.
That's me.
I got distracted. Did you mention Dena's
podcast
YouTube?
No, I hadn't gotten to that yet. We're just
sorry.
Hi. Look at you jumping the gun.
We're trying to make sure she's adequately represented.
Right.
Excuse me. I knew Dena before any of y'all. I'm gonna make sure my girl is represented and that we help her push her thing. So I got this. Anyway, so yes, as Mike and Anthony mentioned, Dena is the co-host along with her husband Adam, who is also a friend to the podcast. They have a YouTube channel called Drunk and Blurty with Nix and Quat. And Dena, tell us a little bit about your channel before we get started on this recap.
Okay, so basically Drunk and Blurty is my husband and I drinking a lot, trying new alcohol products, making alcohol, whatever has to do with alcohol, and talking about nerdy, geeky stuff, from TV shows to movies to CONjuration to Dragon Con. So we just try to put our opinions out there, and mostly while we're drunk. So we probably should put a disclaimer on there that we are drunk. Do not listen to us.
I mean, the whole title of your show is Drunk and Blurty. So if they don't get that when they look at your show title, then they probably don't need to be there.
That's on them.
Very true.
At this point.
It is an amazing show. They are hilarious.
They are hilarious. It is a lot of fun. And I can personally say Adam makes some of the best peach cobbler moonshine I have ever tasted.
I'm still waiting on my back. I'm still waiting on something.
See, the last time he brought me some, you wasn't there. I think you had to do something. I don't know, you wasn't there. I had some, and then I was on the panel,
and I was on the panel, and I saw it posted while I was on the panel.
And then I brought it home. And my kids got to it. So, and let me just remind folks, my kids are all grown before.
Okay, that didn't sound right. It's like wait, her 11 and 13, her 11 and 10 kids.
My 26-year-old daughter, he was like, "Oh, Mr. Adam made this. Yes, I'm going to try this out." So, yeah. But anyway, so Dena, again, glad to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about CONjuration. So CONjuration is a local convention here in Atlanta. It's about 9 years old, and it started out as a mainly Harry Potter themed convention, lots of magic, but they also incorporate a lot of Lord of the Rings, a lot of high fantasy. So you see a lot of that in the convention. They have a lot of book authors come and promote their works. You have a lot of local vendors, vendors who hand make their items. They come to the convention. You have a lot of performers, great performers who come to the convention as well. So it's a 3-day weekend, usually takes place the first or second weekend in November in College Park, which is near the airport. However, next year we're moving to Gwinnett County. So I'm definitely going to have to go ahead and get a hotel room next year because I can't just traipse 5 minutes up the street to get there. That's okay.
Up 85, down 85. Up 85, down 85.
Well, I mean,
635 to 285 to 85, then back.
That's okay, because what was it Chris said? He said, yeah, we're going to be there. I know it's a long way. I said, hey, have con, we'll travel. I will be there. So, I think this was maybe my 5th or 6th year. I think I missed the first year that they did it, and I missed the 3rd year. And I think I've been every year since then, except for, of course, 2020 COVID year. So I think Dena, you've been there going for how many years now?
I think this was my 4th time.
Okay.
Because I went before when they were up north, up 85 before they came to the airport, and then so
okay.
And they've been at the airport now. What? This is the 3rd year at the airport or the 2nd year? I think it's the 3rd year.
I think this is the 3rd year. I think this is 3rd year. So, and then Anthony and Mike, this was both your 2nd year here because you guys came last year. So
yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about CONjuration. It's a smaller con because everybody who listens to us and who have listened to us on previous podcasts or whatever, we're all about Dragon Con here. That has not changed, but I'm starting to like the appeal of the smaller conventions because I feel like they're a little more intimate, and I don't know, I just feel like it's a little bit more of a family vibe. What do you guys think?
I like it. It's not even Dragon Con light. It's like neonatal Dragon Con. It's so small.
It's NICU.
NICU Dragon Con is I like it. The vibe is different. It's easier to get around, definitely.
Yes.
But
you don't feel like a sardine.
Right. And it is more of a family environment. I mean, I do like that because I took Bailey and this was her 2nd. Bailey is my 14-year-old daughter. This was her 2nd CONjuration. And I think she enjoys it too because it is much smaller than Dragon Con.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Mike?
I agree. I think this is the thing about it is people are so friendly. It's like everybody's cool. It's like you'll see somebody the first day you get there and they're like, hey. So it's like then it's like next time you see them the 2nd day, they're like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And it's like, hey. They're like, why don't you come? And it's like everybody's inviting you to their panels, and the panels are cool as shit. I played Dungeons and Dragons twice while I was there.
Yeah, we lost them. Amazing. We lost them.
You lost me. You really did, because it was so much fun. And it's like, and there was the thing about it is like Dungeons and Dragons is for those in Radioland who haven't played, it's a really hard game to get to actually learn at first. But it's like when they're really patient with people. It's like I'm more of like intermediate player now. But it's like they're really like for the people who are new, they were really patient and to explain the game. And it's like we played a light version of it that was meant to only be like 30 minutes, and it was so much fun. But it's like the panels are fun, the vendors area is really cool, and it's like like Anthony said, the vibe is really laid back. I mean, it is family friendly, way more family friendly, and it's like. And the people, and like I said, the people are everyone's like really cool and nice. Like nobody's like trying to be, it's like everybody is just it's really like a bunch of friends getting together and talking about nerdy shit, which is basically what a con should be. And that's how I felt like the whole time. And it's so varied. It's like, it's not, like you said, it's not just Harry Potter now. There's so many different things going on now. It's like, I mean, Dena runs Broadway sing-offs, and it's like musical Jeopardy, and it's like we talk about all kinds of shit. So it's like it's a really varied con, and it's just like really, really cool.
Yeah, Dena is part of the team that runs some of the fun games throughout the entire weekend. Dena, tell us about that.
Oh yeah, so with Tracy and Veronica, who run Atlanta Harry Potter, we
which Anthony and I are part of.
Three of us are members. Yes. Somebody else might need to join, but they basically have a lot of different activities. One is Broadway musical sing along, and then that's like always a huge popular event because people love singing Broadway tunes, or even just stuff that's not necessarily Broadway, but it's musical related. You know, people love to sing this, so we do that. We do activities for children like Harry Potter trivia. We do Family Feud, and then there's musical Jeopardy. And so this year we added a new Chase, which I was on. The Chase.
Yes, Dena was actually a contestant on the Chase, the actual game show. So yeah. Okay.
So it was really cool. It had, a few little bugs, but I think it'll be really good once they get it working really well. And
Okay.
so that's what it's a lot of like running around, you know, doing stuff, being a gopher is mostly what I do. But it's really fun. And CONjuration is definitely one of those cons where it makes me feel a little less old because I don't have to walk from hotel to hotel. I can stay in one area. It's like, you know,
right. You don't have to
kind of starting to
from...
weigh on me.
Right. And if it starts to rain, you're not trapped in the one hotel you don't want to be in.
Right.
Because everything is right there.
Because everything is right there. So while we're talking about the games, I just want to go ahead and say that Mike and I played the first 2 rounds of Musical Jeopardy and we won our rounds. So, and I think Mike, you won last year too, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. 2 years in a row.
So yeah, 2 years in a row for him. So yeah. And then let's see, I got a chance to do Broadway sing-along. That's the one that Mike kind of abandoned us on because he was too busy playing D&D, but we'll forgive you for that.
Tell me y'all, what song do y'all do from Encanto?
Oh, we didn't do any.
I was gonna say, because by the time I left, because I stayed for about an hour and then I left and they hadn't done any yet.
Yeah,
I know we're talking about trying to do. I asked you if you guys were going to do. We don't talk about Bruno. And I was like, oh,
yeah. I was in a panel the first hour.
I think they didn't put a lot of Disney in it this time because they had another Disney, like
a Disney. It was a Disney sing along the day before.
But it was like a Disney song thing. So I think they didn't put a lot of Disney in this one. Like because before we had like Aladdin, we had all this, all these other Disney movies, Mulan, but this time they didn't do that.
Okay. Yeah. And the other thing, I'm gonna talk about this because Dena was in the room with me and she heard me fussing and she knows. So like I said, me, Anthony, and Dena, we are all part of Atlanta HP. And Dena and I actually, whenever there's like Harry Potter trivia, whether it's at Dragon Con, we've gone to a couple of bars. We are very competitive when it comes to Harry Potter trivia. And none of my folks were available for the Family Feud game because I think Mike and his wife were eating in one place. I think Anthony had taken Bailey to go get some lunch. So it was just me. So of course they're taking volunteers. Okay, hey, who wants to play on teams? So I get on the team with people who are like, they're more dressed in Harry Potter stuff than I am. I've gotten to the point I don't cosplay or anything because it's too hot for me. So I have on, my Fandom t-shirts. I'm still representing, but they are like dressed as professors and students and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be cool, y'all. And I'm joking about this in good fun because they had a good time, but I'm competitive. So the first question that our team gets that I win so that we can do the answers, it's name a character from the Fantastic Beasts franchise. So of course I named Newt because he's the star. When it comes to the next 2 people, they're blank. And I was like, are we starting this early? Really? And I was like, okay, it's Fantastic Beasts. There are some Harry Potter fans who don't do Fantastic Beasts.
Right.
Okay, I can get that. Okay. So then the next time we get a chance to answer questions, name a Hogwarts professor. Y'all.
You should have just taken their robes like from them right at that point.
Now, the one thing I will say, okay, so the way that they do the answers for Family Feud, Tracy and Veronica, they put out like a Google form probably earlier in the year. So I think we answered this in like the spring. They put one out and said, hey, we need some answers for Family Feud so we can, we're surveying 100 people. We're going to ask these questions and the top questions are going to be on the board. I mean, you guys know how Family Feud is done. There are some people in that room, y'all, who were not familiar with Family Feud. I was like, y'all are not about to make me feel old today. Y'all are not. I mean, Steve Harvey does Family Feud. Who doesn't know how to play this game? Yeah. So anyway, so one of the crazy things is one of the people, they answered Dumbledore, name a professor at Hogwarts. Okay, obvious. Dumbledore, the main head person. He wasn't even on the board. And we were all sitting there looking like, how did that happen? And I'm thinking it's because they don't equate him as headmaster as like a professor. Because when you think of professor, you think of teacher. So that's the only reason why I can think, because they asked this question in a group full of Harry Potter fans.
Yeah.
So I was confused, but yeah, it kind of just went downhill from there, because after Dumbledore,
I could just see it.
Nobody had an answer. So I'm sitting there. Dena she's the one that's looking to make sure that everybody is who's raising their hand first. And I just look at her. She starts just kind of giggling. And I'm just, and I turn around and I do this and I look at Adam, and Adam is like, what the fuck?
Because even Adam was like, I could do better than this.
I told him, I said, next time I play, you're going to be on my team. And then of course I get pulled onto another team because they only had 4 people. I get on there and the other team was they were just, quicker and whatever. So I was just like, this is some
I don't like this.
I still have fun, but y'all will not.
Y'all don't understand. When I first joined Atlanta HP, Hanako would dominate all of the Harry Potter, whatever it was, Harry Potter Jeopardy, whatever it was, go to a bar, Hanako would dominate. And it's like, I can just imagine her singing like, oh my God. Like,
I was really trying hard to control my face.
Turn red. I just
like grinding her. She's like grinding her teeth. Like these motherfuckers. Yeah.
I'm surprised Dena did not take a picture of my face because look, I was like,
at one point, one guy they were trying to like help him because he was the one who was really messing up, and he was like, I got this, and then he still didn't have an answer when it was his turn. I was like, oh,
right. And the little round at the end where, after the team gets the third strike, you're all supposed to confer, and the team captain is supposed to give the answer. Now, first of all, I'm the team captain. I'm sitting in the first chair. They discuss it amongst themselves, and then one of them blurts out a wrong answer.
And actually, she didn't even listen. She didn't even listen to what they said. She just said it. I was like, you didn't even talk to your other teammate. Like, what are you doing? I literally had to tell them, you have another teammate right there. You need to confer with everybody, not just the people you know. Like,
but that's the fun thing about this convention. You get all kinds of people who they're there for the experience. They love Harry Potter. They may not know a single thing about it. They'll wear their Hufflepuff robe, tie, and wand, and they'll be all over it, and they love their Harry Potter. Even though they read through the books as fast as they could, they didn't retain none of that information. It wasn't important.
Just watch the movies.
Right, or they watch movies, but they love Harry Potter. And that's all that matters.
And I love that. Just stay off my trivia team.
Right. Or, don't question people who wrote the answers to the trivia question when you haven't even read, you don't even know what the book says about the answer. Ravenclaw is not a raven or a crow. It's an eagle. What? That doesn't make any sense. Did you read the books? If you read the books, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. We had similar fun. Like for musical Jeopardy was different because all of the music was kind of fandom based. So you would have like a Disney songs category, you would have a Broadway category, you would have TV themes, movie scores. So it was that sort of thing. So literally the way that you have to do it, you have to like raise your hand. And when I say me and Mike, we were quick on the draw. It was so funny because the guy who was in the round with me, when we started playing and we started raising our hands, he was like,
I'm over it. I'm done.
He was like,
he was lost.
I can't do it. He was like, y'all are too fast. He finally got one answer in towards the end. And he was so ecstatic and everybody cheered for him. It was the best thing. It was
y'all don't understand. I was like 5 seconds away from starting to sing "I Have the Tiger" for him, just so he could get one question right. And I was like, please, bro, you got this. You could do this. Because he was looking so like, man, I don't know anything. I was like, bro, you got this. Come on, man. I started to root for him. I was like, you got this, man. Come on. I actually went down and missed a high five that I tried to give him.
I saw that. I was gonna pretend like I didn't see it. Mike went down like this, and they did.
I was like, yes. I mean, it's like, I was like, hey, it's fine, man. You got one. It's okay. It's okay. Good job, man.
But it was a 500 pointer, so it wasn't a small one.
Right.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So we were all cheering for him at that point. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love y'all's games. You know, we've been doing, you know, even back before Tracy and Veronica were doing it. You know, one of my old friends, Keith Hawk, he used to come to CONjuration the first couple of years, and he, you know, created also a Jeopardy and Family Feud game, like with the buzzers and the podiums and everything. So we've been doing Harry Potter, Family Feud, and Jeopardy for a while. So I love it when y'all do that. It's like, I'm like always looking at the schedule, like, please don't conflict with any of my panels.
Right.
First of all, if you know Hanako, she wants to go in there and crush everyone. That's what she's looking for.
I want to have fun too.
That is your idea of fun. Well, I know when I was in Atlanta HP, it's like Hanako's on the other team. We lost. He's like, oh, it's over.
But see, there were some times when I wouldn't remember, and it's honestly, the funny thing is, it's been a while. I haven't read the books in like 10 years. So a lot of what I knew, I've forgotten. Anthony's looking at me like that don't matter. But you know, I mean, it's just fun. And then when you're on a team or when you're competing in trivia, like against people like Dena or people like Veronica, because I still feel like Veronica probably knows.
Yeah.
Veronica, like I'm good. Veronica.
Yeah, Veronica.
I can't even fuck with her on the Harry Potter trivia.
It's not even fair if she participates.
Yeah. Right. That's why she leads the games, because that's not even fair. People just walk out the room because you. I would give her that
playing the chase, and she was the beast, and you know it's like a time, like you got to answer fast to try to beat the contestants. Man, she was. I mean, she was going so fast, and I was just like, "It's crazy that after all these years, it is still up there.
It's still like, up there for her.
Don't understand. She's still really good at it.
Yeah, but that coming to y'all's games, that's like a favorite part of CONjuration for me. I wish I could come to more, but this year we were busy.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Chris and them for doing a really good job with the schedule, though, because I was looking at they did a really good job. Not like, you know, overlapping a lot of good stuff, and it was we had some really good panels this year, and this year I did 9, and most of them we were on together. I think Dena, you did the Fandom funerals and repass panel with us that we did last year as well, and then you were on Shadow and Bone panel with us, which was interesting. The race and representation,
yes, TLC representation in fantasy media, and we have already been told by Darren, who is the director of programming, that we are bringing that back. We were like, oh, if you want us to bring that back, then he was like, excuse me, if it's already on. Oh, okay. So we will be doing that panel. That was a really good panel.
Yes, I enjoyed that.
It was a really good panel, and I
actually had people. I was walking through. I was like walking through the con, and someone was like, "Hey, yo, we really enjoyed that panel on diversity." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Like they just like literally stopped me out of nowhere. It was like, yeah, it was really informative. I'm glad you guys did it. I mean, it just like it told us it actually gave us a lot to think about. And I was like, oh, cool. Thanks.
That's the other thing I like about CONjuration being a small con, because you can have those interactions with people.
Right.
And that was how even last year, after we did that panel, one of the people who was in the panel, she saw me afterwards and she was like, I love this discussion. I love this panel and this topic. Can you guys please do this again next year? And I was like, okay, I'll see if everybody wants to do it. Cause we're talking about death. And like for that panel, Anthony talks about his father's death. And there was just some things that I was like, okay, I don't know if anybody's gonna want to do this every year, but it turned out to be a really good panel because
it was good. It's like because we talked about different deaths too. It's like we didn't talk about the same death. Really didn't talk about the same deaths we talked about last year. We talked about a completely different set and a completely different perspective on it too.
And the audience is different.
That was my whole goal.
Yeah, because this time we had like Adam, Dena's husband, talked about his losses too, and and there have been some fandom deaths over the last year, like the one I talked about. Spoiler, Batman dies in Gotham Knights. And, you don't think about how these things really affect you. And that's the point of the panel is, how do these fictional characters' deaths affect you? And then how do you relate it to, or if it's related to something that happens in your life?
Yeah. Or how does it affect the way that you view death?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too was we had more people in the panel this year, because last year, again, this is a very small con. So if you get 10 people in a panel, you're doing pretty good, because there's always something else going on. During the times of the panels, you have live performances, you have the games, you have Quidditch happening outside, you have D&D going on in the game room or other RPG games. So there's always a lot going on at the same time. So if you get more than 10 people in a panel, then those people really want to hear what you have to say. And it was just so interesting that we had people come in, and like Tracy and Veronica were there, and there were a couple other people there. The young lady who requested the panel from last year, she was in the panel again this year. Yeah. And so it's always interesting because, like you said, we talked about other deaths that we didn't talk about last year. And that was one of the things I wanted to do this year, because I didn't want to rehash the same old ones. Because if we get started down that road, I know the minute somebody says Naruto, Anthony is going to be like, oh, okay, because my daughter took over that part of the panel last year, and she was supposed to be here this year, but she wasn't feeling well, so she couldn't come. But I was like, okay, so we could talk about other things and see how that goes. And it was a great conversation. And I was just like, we have to do this every year now, because of course we're part of fandoms. We're part of, we know we're going to have some character deaths. We know this is about to happen. I'm about to watch the series finale of The Walking Dead. I'm just preparing. I'm just trying to get my mind right, because I know somebody's going to die, and I'm going to be all broken hearted about it. And I'm going to be ugly crying and screaming to the TV. But I love it because we have that outlet, and then we can have a healthy conversation about death, which is something a lot of people can't do. A lot of people don't know how to do it. They're not equipped to do it.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's a healthy conversation in a safe space for a lot of us. Because one of the reasons people go to a small convention like CONjuration is it's safer to them. It feels safer to them than going to Dragon Con when there's 100,000 people walking around. Right. Here, it might be 100 people walking around. And so it is very different vibe. And I think that helps a lot, because I have a feeling if we did a panel like that at Dragon Con, there would be a lot of people there just out of curiosity. And
we probably wouldn't even be able to cover half of what we did, because because fandom is so large, and there's so many people who are into so many different things. So while a lot of us are into fantasy, at least the four of us here, we all pretty much watch the same shows, and we feel a lot of the same character deaths in the same way. But you might have somebody who watches another show that's completely not related to fantasy, who may have to deal with a character death in the same way and don't know how to handle it. I know for me, with Downton Abbey, when Matthew died, that was so traumatic for me. I was like, oh, wait, what? And the fact that, given the way that Downton Abbey is, the fact that they even showed his death on TV, that was traumatic for me. I was like, I'm not supposed to see this. This is not what this show is about. But being able to talk about those things.
Or someone will shout out, "This is us," and then you have half the room sobbing and crying because "This Is Us" didn't have anything to do with sci-fi or fantasy, and
but you heard the gasp in the room when it was brought up.
Yeah,
who brought it up? I think Mike brought it up.
Michelle brought it up. I thought
I did not.
Michelle brought it up, and everybody in the room went. I was like, oh.
Look,
I don't even watch this.
Watching that show because I was crying every episode.
What'd you say, Mike?
I don't even watch that show. There's no chance in hell I brought that up.
I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I already know how sad it is just from watching clips of it. I'm like, no.
The funny thing is, I was sitting next to Michelle one day, and this was when the show was on, and they had a 20-second promo. And she started sobbing, like boohoo crying just over the promo. I was like, no.
I don't need that kind of emotional damage. I'm going to take Mike's word. I don't need that kind of emotional damage on a weekly basis. If I want to know what happened, I'm going to tell you, it's 2 shows, Grey's Anatomy and This Is Us. If I want to know what happens on those shows, I just watch my Facebook feed. And when everybody is talking about how they're ugly crying and this, that, and the other, oh my God, no, they killed it. No. I don't need to watch that. No.
Yeah, you know how it used to be with Scandal, when you're like, oh, Papa tripping. I'm like, oh.
I think we brought up Scandal too, didn't we?
Yes.
I feel like next year, when you really sit here and start to think about it, because I just realized, like, for last year and for this year, I didn't even mention Dean.
Okay, we got so caught up. I was going to mention that his death, and we just got caught up in the Castiel talk that I forgot to say something.
Right, but I think if we had gotten on the Dean talk, that would have gone to a whole other tangent.
Yeah.
And we probably would have never, like, it would have stayed there, because we did talk about Castiel's death. And I mean, even with that, the discussion that we had there about Castiel's death and how it came at a moment of, pure joy for him, I guess, in a way, for finally being able to express himself. And then the way that the writers or the fan base kind of took that death, and they were kind of like, oh, well, he said it in this way, but he didn't mean it that way. And just how even a character's death can bring about that kind of conversation, because of course, everybody interprets things in different ways, especially when it comes to a character's death. But the moments before that also contribute to the conversation. So that was really interesting to just have that conversation. Like, okay, yes, I was really affected by this character's death, but more than the fact of him dying, it was what he was doing when he died, or what he said when he died, that had the impact. Those are the conversations that we are having in this panel. And I'm loving it, because, again, a lot of people feel like it's taboo to talk about death. I mean, we're all Black, so we know how that is. And Black families growing up, death is kind of one of those things that you don't really talk about. You kind of talk around it, or, it's just not something that you embrace. And one of the ways that we got this panel going is because my daughter is a death doula. She's a certified death doula, which basically is it's like a person who provides companionship, or who provides not necessarily hospice services, but she does things that the medical people can't or won't do due to the nature of their job. If there's someone who needs companionship in their final days and there's no family around, or, it's an elderly person who has no family left, then she can provide those services. She provides counseling services. She provides spiritual counseling. She provides, the paperwork. If you need help going through your death paperwork, doing all of that, because for a lot of people, again, they find that people don't want to talk about death. And especially for us in the Black community, it's so prevalent that people will die and not have a plan in place for what's supposed to happen after they are gone, because people are so scared to talk about death. And that's one of the things that she also does, is that she talks to people and she kind of works them through that conversation of saying, okay, I'm scared to talk about death and this is why, or I need to talk about death, but my children won't listen to me, or my spouse won't listen to what I have to say about it. And that's kind of the work that she does. And she really wanted to talk about it. And that's kind of how this panel came out. And it's been very eye-opening and very enjoyable, which is weird because you don't think, oh, we're talking about death. This is enjoyable. It's fun. But it is because you get to see how different characters affect people. And again, this is the one thing that we all love about being fanboys and fangirls is that we have such an emotional connection to these characters that when they are written off screen or when they are killed, it's like we lose a part of our family or like we lose a piece of ourselves. And to be able to share that with other people, I think is also a great way to bond with other people and to find our fandom family, you know. Right. But the other panel that we did, like we said, was the representation panel. So we were approached by the programming director, Darren, again, because they wanted to do a panel that specifically talks about Black representation in fantasy, especially after this year, because we've had so many fantasy projects come out where the cast was more diverse than the way they may have originally been written. Rings of Power is one, The Wheel of Time, you know, just different properties. House of the Dragon, that one had a lot of backlash for casting a Black actor in a prominent role. So
hell, the live action version of Little Mermaid basically divided this nation in half.
Yeah. Yeah. So they wanted to have a panel about you know, just being positive about the diversity and representation. But he was like, yeah, we want to have this panel, but we don't think we're the right people to do it, meaning because they are white, they didn't want to be just another sea of white faces talking about Black, you know, representation. So they asked us to do it, and we brought Dena along for the ride on that, because I was like, oh yeah, I know Dena gonna have some stuff to say. And
wait a minute, wait, hold on. Are you the preeminent Black expert at CONjuration?
who?
Because I say that because I'm trying to think of other creators who have panels at Black creators who have panels at CONjuration, and I'm coming up empty.
I feel like that is true. Like that's the reason why Darren was like,
yeah.
Hanako.
I mean, I'm not saying it bad. I'm saying that it's good that he trusts you when he says, I know you'll do a good job with it, because I'm sure if there were like 5 other people doing Black creators doing panels, he probably still would have been like, come to you because you do good work. That we do good work on panels. But I was just thinking like,
I never even thought about that.
I never thought about it either until we just started talking. I was like, wait a minute, who else could he have asked? Like,
there, you know, when you say it like that,
yeah.
So, but again, I mean,
but it's good because we killed that shit.
Oh, we did. We got lots of compliments about it. Yeah. And you know, I think
he
also
said he came in and he can't. You were saying how if you get 10 people in a panel, that's good at CONjuration. Mm-hmm. Darren said when he stuck his head in, there were 23 people.
We had 28 total.
Yeah.
It was 28 total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, yeah, that's huge.
That's huge for CONjuration, especially in the middle of the afternoon at CONjuration.
Right.
Because at this point, you've got performances. You've got, I mean, they've had like trapeze artists.
It was 12 o'clock. That's lunchtime.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So, but I mean,
there were people eating though, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also too because, you know, we've done panels at Dragon Con, or, you know, Anthony and I have done panels, but I mean, I've been doing panels at Dragon Con for 11 years now, and Darren also does volunteer work at Dragon Con. So of course my name has probably come up, and he's probably like, oh, okay, you know what? This is something that she does, and she has a crew that, and this is what they do, and they're doing several panels. Let's ask them. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason. Whatever the reason was, I appreciate it, because we got a chance to like really speak about the topic. And, you know, there was no negativity in that room. And I will say that room there was majority, non-Black people in the panel. And to see that there was so much positivity in that panel, and people like, I don't understand what the deal is. And if you really read, then you will see that there's a diverse world in this particular product. It was so positive. And that was something that I feel like we all needed, because there's so much negativity right now in social media and in fandom spaces because of different castings for different shows. And then Anthony also brought up a lot of Black literature too, and the fact that Octavia Butler, I think they just released like a teaser trailer for Kindred. So, and we're talking about other products, and it was amazing. I enjoyed it so much.
I did too. I always enjoy talking about literature, and I always tell that same story about how I discovered that there were Black people who actually wrote fantasy and science fiction, because we don't think about that growing up,
right?
And just to have a forum where I can say, you can go look at Octavia Butler and N.K. Jemisin and all these, Tenor Abdu, where you can actually find Black writers who write this stuff. And then even point out, like, Dena jumped all over Robert Heinlein in the Starship Troopers, where all the characters in that book are color. But you see the movie and you're like, what the hell happened?
Like, we only get sugar, and that's it.
Then we have properties like Earthsea, which was a popular book that all those characters are not, white. They're people of color. So it's just that it's out there, and we just have to get people to want it, to want to let people know about it. We got to inform people about it, and that's what I think was the best thing about this panel. Just focusing on we are here too. Like, if you look for us, we're here. We're everywhere. You just have to look for us.
Yep.
And it also just people's worldview in general is part of the reason why this is such a problem, is because we're taught in history that, these people come from this place and these people come from this place, and we never taught how these people all intermingled and all mixed in and traveled and traded and did all these things. Asians didn't just stay in Asia. Black folks didn't just stay in Africa. White folks didn't just stay in Europe. Like, we mixed in. So when people get mad because there's Black people in Frozen, well, there are some Black people in the up north, Norway, Sweden. There are Black people. They exist. Just like there are white people who exist in Africa, like that, that weren't necessarily maybe colonizers, but it's just, it's about our worldview and what we've been taught. We've been taught for so long that people didn't exist in certain spaces, and now we can't accept it in fantasy because we're so used to what we've heard in real life. Is really what it boils down to.
Right.
And it's sad because, world history, like, all these things that's happening in this world, and this is what we're worried about, what race is in what place.
And the thing is, like, when we saw Disa in Hanako's favorite character, and I think most people's favorite character.
Love her.
She was the Dwarf Prince's wife. She was in
Rings of Power.
Yeah, Rings of Power. I had a brain fart. But yeah, and it's like, they can't be Black dwarves. You didn't write Black. It's freaking fantasy.
Right.
Like, it's right. You're talking about a world where the angels are walking among people, causing and wreaking havoc everywhere. Well, we have these 2-foot tall people who aren't even dwarves. They're just hobbits. Like, this is a made up world. And you mean to tell me you have an issue with an elf being Black and a dwarf being Black? And we didn't talk about that because that would have been the negative side. But it's just interesting, relating it to what Dena said. We're everywhere. Like, you can't really go anywhere. We may be some low in numbers, but there are Black people, like she said, in Scandinavia, in Germany. There are Black people everywhere. There's Asian people everywhere. We're everywhere. except maybe New Hampshire or Vermont, especially Vermont. I don't think we're in Vermont, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Oh,
Let me tell you, I lived in the South my whole life. Going up to the northeast was scarier than being in the South. Okay, that's all I got to say. Just saying.
yeah.
That was a great panel. I mean, I really enjoyed the idea of it. And I told Darren it was a good idea to do it. And I actually told him we're going to do it next year. He's like, wait, I didn't even ask you. No, we're doing it next year.
Yeah, but I mean, I think even when you said that, he was like, "Oh, that wasn't a question." Like he was already expecting that this is going to be something that we do again next year. So I'm here for it. So, and now that we know, kind of, this was kind of like a trial run because we just found out about this maybe like a month and a half ago, and so sitting here trying to put together maybe an outline or think about what we want to talk about. I mean, literally what I did and what I usually do when I do moderate a panel, I don't usually follow an outline. I just usually like literally start a conversation and just let the conversation go organically because I know a lot of the things that we talk about, people are just going to start talking. Like once you get the conversation going, the conversation is going to flow. It's not like we're getting up there talking about a subject and people are going to sit there and be quiet because they have nothing to contribute. I mean, even with our other panels, Michelle and I did an Outlander panel. We did a panel on Shadow and Bone. We did a panel on, I did a panel on Harry Potter. We tried to do one on Discovery of Witches, but there was an issue with the room being switched without us being told. So that kind of fell through. But I mean, all of the panels that we've done, we've never had like the awkward silences or does anybody have a comment and there's just radio silence. We've never gotten that. But this panel was live. Like this panel, there was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of interaction. There was a lot of positivity. And I was just like, yes, this is what we need. More voices like this saying, yes, why not have Black people in fantasy? Because y'all are here, we exist.
Mm-hmm.
And
while we're talking about panels, I don't mean to sidetrack us. I was supposed to be on the panel for the Rings of Power. The person who came up with the panel, it was the Rings of Power. Yeah, the person who did the panel, she was not able to do it and sent us a message in Messenger. And so I was basically going to be on the panel by myself. And this was like 2 hours before the panel was going to go on. And Darren asked if I wanted him to come along. I said sure. So this was the first panel I moderated. I think this was the first panel I ever moderated.
It was, and you did a great job.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun. But we had a lot of people there. I think I counted 9 or 10. I'm not sure. Hanako was there. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
A lot of good conversation came out of that panel too.
Yeah, it did.
Because it was talking about the comparisons of Rings of Power from, the lore or the canon and the show and the things that they can use and can't use. Now, I haven't read Lord of the Rings or any of those books yet, but apparently something called the Silmarillion.
Mm-hmm.
Silmarillion is one of those things that is tough to get through, but it also is the reason why most of the story isn't accurate to the book. So it was really interesting to hear that conversation.
It was interesting. Well, yeah. They got the rights to the appendices because at the end of the Lord of the Rings books, there are appendixes.
Mm-hmm.
And the appendices are just like little things that may define a word or tell a story, give you some insight. Tolkien was trying to give you a little bit of a background to kind of explain things.
Okay.
Sort of like a mini, I don't want to say encyclopedia because that's pretty much what the Silmarillion is. It's like an expanded version of that. And so they only got the rights to the appendices and not the Silmarillion. So a lot of the stuff in the show, people are like, it's kind of conflicting with the Silmarillion, but it's not because it's from
Okay.
dependencies. But that's neither here nor there. It was fun because there are a lot of people who I didn't realize didn't know a lot of those details about what went on behind the show. Like a lot of people didn't know that they had to commit to 5 years. Like Amazon had to commit to do this for 5 years.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's not a 1 year and then they can cancel it. No, if y'all want to do this, you give us $1 billion and you commit to 5 years. And that's why we have the show. And we don't have to worry about it being canceled because they have to follow through.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was interesting to me because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So,
but it was interesting because I did make an outline real quick. I had questions, and Darren started talking. And I was like, you know what? I just turned the iPad off. And like, we'll just have this conversation.
Put this over there. Because again, when you have a subject that people are passionate about, the conversation is going to happen organically, and you don't really have to go through the bullet points. Now, sometimes it helps to kind of keep us on track. We probably should have, well, I won't even say that. I was going to say we probably could have used it during the Grishaverse panel, but it wasn't that we got off track just because we were off track. There was someone in the panel who I think for various reasons can't watch the show. So, but he's interested in the show and he's reading, I think, the first book, and he's read part of the first book. So we're talking about things, of course, Shadow and Bone season 1 is already passed. And, there's a whole literary universe out there consisting of, I think right now, 6 books. So we're giving out all the information about that. And he had questions because he was like, okay, so what is this and what is that? And I think for the next time,
questions. Oh.
But that's okay because
I kept looking at Hanako. Hanako kept giving me the.
Just because it was one of those things. Like I don't mind people. I don't have a problem with people who have no idea of what we're talking about coming in, because I feel like if we're passionate enough about what we're talking about and they have no clue about it, but they're kind of on the fence, because there were a couple of people in the back of the room who were like, we haven't read the books or seen the show, but we're just kind of interested to see what's going on. And we don't mind about spoilers. If they listen to us talk about stuff, they might get interested enough to read this, to read the books or watch the shows. Right. Dena gave me this nickname a long time ago. She used to call me the pusher of the Atlanta HP group, because she was like, anytime Hanako talks to somebody about something, they are going to go read or watch whatever it is she talks about. I like to talk. Y'all know this. So I don't mind people coming in and asking questions and wanting to know, but I just felt like it was just kind of to the point where it was taking over the rest of the panel. Yeah. Like we couldn't really get much of the season 2, even though we don't have much information about season 2. We could have still talked about some speculation. We could have had some book discussion, but
it's like you only have 45 minutes, so it's like, why are you still like you can. Like he just, I like you said, I appreciate people wanting to know stuff, but it's like we have a limited amount of time.
Yeah,
like we're trying to get this in, we're trying to get that in,
right?
And we're trying to talk about let other people have questions too. So it's like,
yeah, but they had to be hard on you as a moderator, trying to move us forward.
Yeah,
and and having to kind of take the time to kind of slow down and go back and.
It was, but at the same time, like I understand his curiosity. I think just what I'll do for the next time, if something like that happens, is just say, hey, if you want to talk after the panel, come find me, and I'll answer any questions you have, because I think it wasn't, and I could see the looks on some other people's faces. It wasn't fair to the other people who were there to hear us talk, because they already knew what was going on. It wasn't fair to them to have to keep stopping the conversation to go back and explain something that was explained in the first season.
Yeah, so, when the first question is, so can you explain to me what is happening? Like, can you explain to me?
Like, what is Shadow and Bone about?
What is Shadow and Bone about?
Yeah.
That is tough when that is the first question.
He definitely had just I don't want to say bad things because I don't know who's going to watch this, but he was basically throughout the whole con following people around, cornering people, forcing people into conversation, and like holding. You know how you don't want to be rude and you don't want to walk away and you don't want to just say, "Hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore." To the point where he kind of cornered some young people, not grown people, some teenagers and some kids, and I was just like, a few of them, I'm like, "Are you okay?" Because I will let him know to back away if you want to come out of this conversation. Right. One I had to let a father know, like, watch your kid, because he kind of has her cornered over there talking to her, this grown man. And he was just very aggressive with his conversation, to the point where he was getting in people's conversations he didn't know. They were talking personal stuff, and he was jumping in the middle of their conversation and trying to take over.
That's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now that
makes sense.
That makes sense now.
Okay. It was bad.
I think he actually offered me
my husband and I around the con a lot.
Okay.
And at some point I was like, "Oh, I need my husband. I'm gonna take I need to," and he's like, "Oh, I'll just follow you." No, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I need. So he was a problem overall.
Okay.
And so I just don't know how to handle that kind of stuff. Like, what do you do? Do you report that? I don't know.
Yeah. And, I'll be honest. I did observe him a little bit during the con, and I don't think he meant any harm. But, just like we were saying at the beginning, CONjuration is a lot smaller. So people tend to feel a little more comfortable there. And that could simply be the case. You know what I'm saying? You're around people who have the same interests as you, and everybody's talking, everybody's friendly. So maybe he's just one of those people who does not know boundaries, or does not, I'm trying to think of the word for it, just basically socially they may be awkward, or they may not know social boundaries. So it could be that.
The social cues they have.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking. Social cues. So yeah. But like I said, he asked some good questions for people who might not have been as knowledgeable about it. But I think what will, again, panels and stuff like this, it's always a learning experience as well. Because, when he came in the room and asked, "Hey, is it okay if I come sit? I don't really know too much about it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, you can come sit." I wasn't expecting him to ask all the questions that took away from what the panel was supposed to be about. So I think just in the future, like I said, I think some of our panels will probably need to be longer than 45 minutes, because I know for Fandom funerals, and I know for the POC panel, we could have gone a whole hour and a half. And, we do get that option when we request the panels. So I may end up doing that. And then if something like that happens again next time, then I can say, okay, hey, I understand you don't know much about what's going on here. And if you don't mind sitting through and letting us have this discussion, I'll be, at the end of the panel, I'll leave about 15 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask questions there, or something like that, because I don't want anybody to feel like they're not welcome just because they don't know what we're talking about, because you never want to push away a potential fan, especially when, like I said, I don't feel like he was there to do any harm. He just, maybe does not know how to be socially appropriate in that sense. So, it's just a learning experience. And then, of course, learning how to deal with people who may not know how to behave in certain ways. That's also a learning experience as well. So I'll take that experience and be like, okay, so maybe this is what I need to do for next time. So, but overall, I still think the panel went well. We did have some good discussion. There were some people who were familiar with the books, which I've still only read the first 3 books. I need to read the rest of them before season 2 starts, and that is my plan. But it's
always interesting to hear people who haven't seen the show but read the books, and then you tell them about the Crows and Mal and Melina, and they're like, "Wait a second, they put them together?"
Yeah,
and they were just so confused about that.
They're so confused.
That was the best discussion right there, because they were really trying to wrap their head around that concept.
Mm-hmm. But again, even after, like, I watched the first season of the show before I started reading the books. I read the books before DragonCon last year because I was on the Shadow and Bone panel at DragonCon last year. And I was like, oh, okay, I kind of might need to read these books before I do this panel. And I read the books and I enjoyed the books. I mean, literally, I started reading them and I read all three of the original Grishaverse books, enjoyed them immensely. But I was like, it's so weird reading this story and not having the crows in it, because I felt like something was missing from the story. Now, granted, there's a lot that's going on in those books. There is a lot. I think reading it, if the crows were in the main story in that way, I think it would have been too large, because there are some other characters in the books that I know we're seeing some of them in season 2. But I feel like in the books, it probably would have gotten to be too much, because there would have been too much going on. Whereas with a show, a visual medium, it's easier to splice those two stories together and make it make sense. I don't think it would have done that if she had done that when she wrote the books.
That sounds like a panel topic to me.
I mean, you do page, people do page to screen topics all the time, and I've actually thought about that, and that may be something we can pitch for next year too, especially in relations to Shadow and Bone, because of the fact that it's so different, because these two properties have been put together for this show. I think that'll be interesting to see what people think about it, because I mean, if they haven't watched the show, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you haven't watched the show, go watch the show. It's a lot of fun. Right. It's a lot of fun.
Except for Jesper.
Hey, look, again, we're not having any disparaging comments about my boy Jesper. Okay?
Stopping with the Jesper hate.
Enough of that.
You better stop. You better stop.
This season 2 is going to be so much fun.
I thought the audience was going to riot against me. I was like, whoa.
As well they should have. How dare you?
The unmitigated gall of this guy.
I'm telling you. But there were some other panels over the weekend that we did not lead, that we were either a part of or that we attended. The House of the Dragon panel was a lot of fun, talking about season 1, and our friends Gary and Jessa were on that panel. That was a lot of fun. The guy who was leading that panel, Matt, he brought a bottle of the A Song of Ice whiskey. And he was like, yeah, so we're going to pop open this whiskey and have a conversation. If you guys would like to come get a cup, come on. I was like, wait, he's sharing alcohol with us? This is how we need to start a con off every year. I can do this.
How did I miss that panel?
I don't know how you missed that panel. Me and Hanako were in the front row with
you. Weren't there. That was Friday. You didn't come on Friday.
I didn't come on Friday.
Yep. Right. See, that's what happens when you don't come on a Friday. You miss the free alcohol in the panels.
Hey,
it won't happen again.
Unfortunately, I couldn't be there because I was in my activity, because I would have been there too.
Yep. It was a good panel though. It was a really good panel. Lots of fun. And, I think it's so funny because everybody was kind of, I won't say burnt out on Game of Thrones after season 8, but, we were all to the point where we were like, okay, it's done. We're good. And then we get the news of House of the Dragon, and then we actually get casting news, and we get filming updates. And then they've actually wrapped a first season, and we have a trailer. And everybody starts looking at this and we're like, okay, all right. I'm dipping my toe into this water. I'm still a little scared to swim, but I'm gonna dip my toe in this water and test this temperature out. And then once that first episode hit, we were like, we're back. We're all back. And it was so fun being in that panel because everybody was so enthusiastic. Like, I don't think anybody said anything bad about it, because everybody was like, oh yeah, I love the way that they're doing this. And of course, it's based on a book that is basically a compendium of 3 accounts. so-called quote unquote eyewitness accounts to the events, to the events that happened during this time. And I love the way that the story has been woven so that it's a little more ambiguous than we thought it was. Like, oh, so this character didn't just, decide to wake up one day and be a bitch for no reason and do all this stuff. Like, we actually have some nuance to the characters, and that's been so fun to explore with this series because it's on paper, but it's not on paper. They can kind of fill in the blanks the way that they want to. And I feel like it's making for a really compelling story. But oh my God, why do we have to wait till 2024?
Yeah. Because even George R.R. Martin is giving it like props in the writing that they've done and the acting, and he's excited.
Yeah, he sent Patty Considine a text message saying your Viserys is better than my Viserys, and Patty was like, "That's it, that's it. I'm done.
I'm good.
Right. When the maker of the character says, "Oh, the way that you did this character is better than the way I wrote him," oh, you're done. You don't need any other praise than that because you brought a vision to life in a way. And I mean, I'm in the process of reading the book now, and that Viserys is not the Viserys I saw on screen. And the Viserys I saw on screen was like, yeah, there's some things that I can't stand about you or that you need to fix, but especially those last 2 episodes he did, flawless.
Because he was a good man. He just wasn't the greatest leader, but he was a good man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wasn't a bad person. Like, he probably was the only person who was.
This is true. Him and Lionel Strong.
Oh yeah,
him and Lionel Strong.
Totally honorable. And Bird, what was his name? Beesbury.
Beesbury.
Poor Beesbury. That poor man.
All stand-up guys, and they're all dead.
All the stand-up guys. Ned.
I was about to say, pun intended with the stand-up. But I'm trying to think what else, what other panels, like I know I did a how to promote your creativity with podcasting panel with oh my God, his name just escaped me. I think it's Mark Gunn. He's like the Celtic singer, but he led that panel. That was a fun panel to do because of course I got to talk about my podcast journey, which y'all know was a long time coming for me. And a lot of, I don't know if I should do this. I don't think I can do this. And, oh, I guess I'm going to have to do this. So, oh, let's do this. So it was fun talking about that journey. Yeah.
The sorting panels. I went to 2 sorting panels.
Which ones did you go to?
I went to Sorting Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
And then I went to Sorting Hamilton.
Oh.
Sorting panels are fun because you can get pretty vicious in there.
Yeah.
Dena and I were talking about this before we started recording.
You get pretty vicious in there. There are some people, because the Stranger Worlds, I was on the panel for the Stranger Worlds, and Michelle was in the audience.
Oh, okay.
And we got into a disagreement about a character.
You and Michelle?
Yes, and some people are like, "You okay to go home?"
Did it get that intense?
Yeah, indeed.
Oh my God.
They're fun. The Hamilton panel, I was in the audience, but it was a bunch of kids.
Yes.
Like, it may have been like 15, 16, 19, 20 or so, like 15 and under.
Yeah.
They are passionate about their beliefs.
Yeah.
Boy, I got crushed. I thought I got crushed in the Stranger Worlds. And man, they disagree with everything I said. So I stopped talking.
Let me tell you about these teenagers. Because we did a panel at DragonCon, and it was a Harry Potter fan fiction panel. And most of the people
my God,
panel were teenagers. And when I tell you, girl, that panel, they had all kinds of ideas, and they were excited, and they were like the energy in that panel. I was like, okay, y'all are making me feel young again. Like they were lit. Anthony and Mike and Michelle were over in the corner. Yeah. I was like, Anthony, you said you wanted to be part of this fanfish pass. He was like, nah, they got it. They got
it. They had it. Pass it on to the younger generation.
That same energy that they had there, that was the same energy in that Sword in Hamilton.
Okay.
It was the same energy. I was like, oh my God. And my daughter was in there and she's quiet, but she was quietly participating. Oh, okay. And she was looking at me like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
Oh, so you just was not having a good night with your ladies, huh?
No, I wasn't actually. No. And I lost all of those arguments in that panel too. So
but that's the other thing I love about, even though we're older, we're the seasoned folks now, but I love the fact that the teenagers have these opportunities because we didn't have this stuff when I was a teenager.
Right.
Dragon Con was around, but of course, my parents were strict, or at least my mom was strict. I wouldn't have been able to go to Dragon Con anyway. But they definitely didn't have like the smaller ones, at least not to my knowledge. But the fact that these teenagers and even the younger kids, they have a place to go and to have fun, and they can come in cosplay and dress up, and they can walk around the hotel and see the trolley lady from Harry Potter with her trolley full of snacks that you can actually buy from her. And then also the thing that I like there is the charity. One of the charities that comes there is the Georgia Reptile Society. They have a room every year. They bring some of their reptiles and you can go in, and I think you may have to pay like a small fee, but there's a petting zoo. You can go in, or you can see the people walking around with the snakes throughout the convention, and the kids are having fun, because we didn't get to do stuff like this. Not on this scale. We might have had the zoo people come to our classroom or whatever, but to actually go somewhere, be in a hotel or be in when I was young, hotels were like adult places or adult spaces. My dad used to work in a hotel. He used to be a chef, and we would go every once in a while. Like, he would bring us to the hotel and we would have an overnight there. And that was one of those things that as a kid, especially a kid who's coming up, lower middle class, you don't get to do fancy stuff like that. That was the fun thing. But to be a kid and be able to go to a hotel and you get to see Harry Potter stuff, and you get to see dragons, and you get to see people making wands, and you get to see performers and people up in the air, and you get to see a dude make a huge ass balloon tree.
I know.
Was amazing.
Huge.
It was amazing. But to be a kid and to be able to experience that, or to be able to be a teenager and to have that space where you can go and be a full out nerd, and other kids there are being a nerd right along with you. You're not getting the whole, you're weird, you like white stuff. None of the stuff that we all got when we were kids.
Yeah, and none of the adults are looking at you like something is wrong.
Right.
They're looking at you like they want to be you too.
Right.
Yeah, if anything, they're encouraging you, and they're like giving you tips on your cosplay. They're like they're like helping you out. It's like that's what I really wished we had this when we were kids, like so much, like where we could just go and like hang out with other kids from different parts of Georgia who like the stuff that we like, and be able to like keep in touch with them and like hang out and shit. And it's like, that would have been freaking awesome.
That would have been awesome, because all of us came up in the same space. We're all 70s babies. We born in the 70s or early 60s, late 60s. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say early.
Who the hell was born in the late 60s in this motherfucker? Well, I know you ain't looking at me.
I meant to say early 70s. I'm so
late 65. I wish. I
love you. But yeah,
you ain't that much younger than me. You better chill.
But I'm still younger than you.
Hey, talk about late 60s. Like I knew nothing about. I did not meet Martin Luther King Jr. Leave me alone.
Mike, that explains a lot.
What is? See.
I'm so sorry.
I would say respect your elders, but y'all just keep laughing at me. So I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Okay, but no. So this is a perfect segue into this next one. The last panel I did the weekend. there was a panel called A Generational Look at Harry Potter. So you have people from different age groups on this panel. So Chris, who is one of the co-founders of CONjuration, he was on the panel. He's the oldest person. He's 55. I'm 47. And then Hannah, who actually did the panel, who was moderating the panel, she was, I think she said she's 29. And there was somebody else who was like,
there was someone 34.
There was somebody 34, and then Hannah was 29. Hannah's 29. Somebody next to her was 24, and then the youngest person was 17. Like he was like, yeah, Deathly Hallows came out when I was 2.
He's like, no, wait, everything was out.
Everything was out when he was born. So he didn't have to wait.
Insane.
He was able to, he was able to watch all the movies at the same time, read all the books back to back. But he did say that he wished that he could have gotten the experience of going to like midnight parties, because I'm sorry, those midnight parties I miss. I don't know why they stopped doing them, because we did them for Harry Potter and we did them for Twilight, and I think right around the time like Divergent and Hunger Games came out, that was when they started kind of tapering off. I miss those days. I wish we could do those again, because they were so much fun. And then especially for the movie releases, Atlanta HP, we'd all get dressed up and we go to the movie theater as a group, and I just miss those days. But yeah, so it was very interesting doing that panel and seeing Harry Potter from like the different perspectives, because there was one girl on the panel, actually Chris's daughter, who was talking about how she was in 2nd grade and she was reading the Harry Potter books. And she said she got Goblet of Fire taken away from her in school because the teachers were looking at her like, there's no way you can be on the level to read this book. And then once they realized she could, they were like, okay, well, you just can't read it in this. You can't read it in class because we don't want the other kids to feel bad because they can't read like you. And Chris was like, and what do we do after that? We took you out of school and started homeschooling you. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably what I would end up doing too. Because why would you suppress another child's learning because everybody else is not?
Right. But also, who helps the kids get to the level they need to be at if they're not looking at the other kids doing better?
Right. Like that's a whole other conversation that we don't have time for tonight.
I don't know how teachers should realize how competitive kids are. It's not that they feel bad, it's that they want to be on that level. It's like kids will compete and so be like, oh, you're reading that, I want to read that.
Let me tell you,
the next one before you read it. And then that's going to, it's like a whole wave effect. It's like everybody.
That is exactly how my younger daughter got into Harry Potter, because she was in the 3rd grade. No, I think she was 2nd grade when she started. But she and her friends were trying to get, accelerated reader points. And that, I think that was brought up in one of your panels too, Anthony, maybe about accelerated reader. But
Darren was saying how the Lord of the Rings books were worth so many accelerated. There was another guy who was saying he only read them because he could knock out his accelerated points for the whole year.
And that's the same thing with Harry Potter. Yeah, they started reading Harry Potter and they would get into it. They would take their test and they're like, whoa, I think Sorcerer's Stone at the time was like 14 points for that one book, which is good considering most grade school books, you only get like a half point or a point. You get 14? Okay, yeah. And then Chamber of Secrets, 16? Yeah. Then once you get to like Goblet of Fire, 23 points. When I tell you, me and her classmates every day, they're coming in and they're like, Miss Ricks, I'm on page such and such. What's going to happen? You're going to read it. Oh, Miss Ricks. And these little kids would go and read these books. And the teachers will always come into the media center and they'll be like, what in the world are you doing to get these kids to read? I said, it's a good story. They're competing with each other and they're learning because all of them became like strong readers. Right. Why would you not encourage that?
Yeah.
Right. So, but it was interesting. It was interesting hearing the different perspectives from like us older people. That's so weird to say, but from us older people to like the younger people and to see how the experience is different and then how they are also the same. So that was a lot of fun to do.
But that's the thing that I've always loved about, Harry Potter and explaining to people like whenever I tell them I was in a Harry Potter group, and it's people from so many different age groups and age ranges, because people automatically assume, oh, that's for children. I'm like, no, not quite. We got 50-year-olds, we got 60-year-olds, we got 30-year-olds. Like, we got all these different age groups. Because the material speaks to people. It's not, maybe she intended it for it to be for children, but what she wrote is not just something for children.
And it also, that was a thing too. Like, when I first got into the group, I was still like mid-30s at that point. But because it was an adults only group, you couldn't even join the group until you were 18. But at that time, we had some 18-year-olds and we had some 19-year-olds who were part of the group that we became friends with. People looked at it, they were like, what in the world could you and a 19-year-old have in common to talk? I'm like, we talk about Harry Potter, and we talk about Twilight, and we talk about literature, and it's one of those things that it does bridge the gaps, where it's not a weird thing for me to know somebody of that age and be able to have a conversation with them about it, because we're talking about this thing. Even now, the kids who were my children's age, they're now young adults, and we can still have conversations because we all bonded through this shared experience, and it's also weird to talk about that in this day and age with everything going on with She Who Must Not Be Named and the things that she's saying, and how it kind of has divided, the fandom, because you have some people who have completely cut it off, and rightfully so, if that's what is for them. And then there are those of us who still embrace it, but we have to embrace it in a different way, because it's like, yes, we still love Harry Potter, but that does not mean that we condone what she says. And then we have to be more urgent about what we do and what we say and how we speak up to support the people that she is tearing down. So it's been a weird thing with Harry Potter, but I liked doing that panel because, like I said, you get to see the differences in how we came up with it and how they came up with it, and then kind of how we have those shared experiences. And that was a lot of fun. But it made me nostalgic too, because again, like I said, especially when I first started Atlanta HP, like, we were very consistent with meeting every month. Like, I was at a party every month, and we had a lot of stuff, we were doing a lot of stuff. But of course, as we get older, all of us have different responsibilities. People have kids, people got married, people have gone out of state, and it's just not the same. So I'm a little sad about that, because I haven't been able to get to a meeting in a long time. But I love the fact that we still have those shared experiences, and then we can have a bond like this. Because I think Dena and I met when she first came to a meeting in late 2007, I think maybe 2 months after I first joined. So literally since 2007, that's how long we've been doing this Harry Potter thing together.
That's how I met Dena and Adam, right?
That was 2008. I came a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I joined the month after Dragon Con.
After Dragon Con, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think you and Hanako, you told me about it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, yeah. I dragged you right on into it too.
Dragged me too. Yep.
Yep. So yeah. What other panels did you do, Anthony? Were those the only 2 extra ones that you did aside from ours?
I had 5. There were 5 others.
Oh yeah, because you did 9.
We did 3. That was like 8 total.
Okay.
So there was a Sorting Stranger Worlds, The Rings of Power. I did another Lord of the Rings one with Darren. That was what if Frodo had not said anything.
Like, oh yeah. How was that?
That was fun. That was fun.
So what was the premise?
A lot of speculation.
So what was the premise behind that one? You said, what if Frodo didn't say?
So yes. Yeah, so at the Council of Elrond, when they were in Rivendell deciding what to do with the ring,
right?
In the movies, because I'm not gonna talk about the book, it was a little different because Bilbo actually volunteered, and then they were like, we don't know if you do it. And that was when Frodo said, "I'll do it."
Okay,
which is what is in the movie,
right?
Because we were arguing about it, and since Frodo went, Sam went. and Frodo wouldn't, and then Merry and Pippin went because of that too. So if Frodo had not said anything, then who would have taken the ring to Mordor? Like, because Sam, the hobbits only went because Frodo went.
Right. Yeah, it would have had to have been Gandalf on the Eagles.
Yeah, so that would have left the men and the elves and the dwarves to try to figure it out. And the ring corrupts. So we talked about it, and Darren said, well, the short, easy answer is we lose.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you damn sure don't want to give the ring to Boromir.
Nope.
That's game over before you even leave Rivendell.
Yes. Yeah. But it was fun because people, a lot of people had a lot of questions and speculation. Like, could you have, what if they had resisted the ring all the way up to the end? Like, one of the things that we did talk about was that's sort of what Sauron was expecting. He was expecting men to take the ring and use it to challenge him. And that's why he thought when they came to the doors, when they were trying to distract him, he thought they had the ring. So he was fully expecting them to do it. Someone brought up another interesting point, which something, I know we're getting into the weeds, but one of the things is that Sauron put all of his will into the ring. So what if the ring wasn't trying to get back to him? What if the ring wanted to do what he wanted to do? It wanted to dominate. That's why I never tried to get to an orc, because if it had gotten to an orc, maybe the orcs would have taken it to Sauron. That's not what it wanted. It just wanted to dominate somebody because that's what he wanted to do. So that's interesting, because Gollum had the ring for 500 years, and he only lost it when Bilbo walked by.
Yeah.
The orcs was in and out that cave all the time. I mean, he was eating orcs. So, yeah. So, I know it was a fun panel because a lot of speculation. That panel, and I can't remember any of the other ones off the top of my head right now, but that was it. Okay. They were all fun.
I'm sitting here thinking about that. Like, what if Frodo didn't say yes? You can apply that to so many different fantasy properties and think about how it would have changed. Like, what if Neville had been the chosen one instead of Harry Potter?
Instead of Harry.
What if Edward had decided to kill Bella instead of falling in love with her? What if Katniss hadn't volunteered as tribute?
Yeah, just
what
like
if Luke had listened to C-3PO and not took off that restraining bolt on C-3PO?
Oh my God, that is such a rabbit hole that we could go down. We would be here all night coming up with different scenarios. What if Curse hadn't been canceled? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, but that's the other thing. I forgot what panel we were in. Somebody mentioned something about how they were a fan of Arthurian tales. And we were like, oh, really? Because we have been talking like for a year now, ever since we started watching Cursed and then it got canceled. We have been saying we were probably going to do a podcast episode talking about different Arthurian like TV shows or movies and just kind of compare them. I think we're going to have to do that now, because it keeps coming up in different little things, like it's nudging us.
Didn't an audience member come up and was trying to tell us about something that was coming out that was based on the Arthurian?
See, I can't remember if she was, because I know we were trying to get out the room because we had another panel we had to go to, and those panels, like, they only give you 15 minutes because the panels are 45 minutes long. So you have from the top of the hour till 45 minutes after, and then the next panel is the next top of the hour. And I think on Saturday I had panels at 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I had back-to-back panels all day, which is why I did not eat until almost 6 o'clock that evening.
He was running.
Yeah. But yeah, I think at some point we're probably going to have to, at this point now, we're going to have to do something about Arthurian tales, whether it be a podcast episode, whether it be a panel. We're going to have to talk about it because we all have our different favorites that we want to talk about, and then there are other properties out there that we probably haven't watched yet that we probably should watch. That might have to be a series because there's so much dealing with Arthurian legend. Like I know, Dena, you probably have some. Like I know you watched, what was that one show that was out a few years ago? Was it Gallivant? Is that
I have watched Gallivant. Yeah, it's funny.
Okay.
But I used to watch Merlin.
Merlin, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then of course there's the miniseries Merlin, because that's still one of my favorite ones, the one with Sam Neill and Helen Bonham.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, what was it? It wasn't called Merlin.
There was one called Merlin, wasn't it?
No, that one with Sam Neill wasn't called Merlin. It was something else. Because it was based on a book series, but it wasn't. I don't think it was Merlin.
I think it was.
Sure, it was.
I have to go look. I have it downstairs. But then
or I'm thinking of another one.
Yeah, you're thinking of another. I think you're thinking of Miss of Avalon.
I'm thinking of Miss of Avalon. So you're right.
Yeah, but there's that one. Of course, I've been telling y'all I want to talk about Camelot in depth because I feel like that show was canceled way too early.
Just want to talk about Jamie Campbell.
And Dena would be there with me because Dena loves him too. So
oh man, like it's God.
So I know if I ever want to do a show where I want to just gush about him, I'm gonna call Dena and be like, "Hey, Dena, let's talk about Jamie." She's gonna be like, "Yes,
he's so talented. He can act. He can sing."
Yeah,
that sounds like another panel idea. Not Jamie Campbell Bowers, the Arthurian story.
We can do one for Jamie Campbell Bower too. I don't mind because everybody like. People at large now are just now starting to appreciate his talent because of Stranger Things. I'm like, excuse me, I've been here since Sweeney Todd.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we could come up with all kinds of ideas. I mean, they'll probably start taking submissions probably at the beginning of the year. And we can sit here and talk about that because there's a lot of stuff that we like to talk about, and judging from the panels we did this weekend, other people like to talk about it too. So that might be something we have to think about. So I know, Dena, you're going to have to be on some panels with us. We're just going to have to tell them, y'all, make sure she can still do her games, but we do need to have her on our panels because it's fun having you on panels. It's just fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy being on panels. Definitely with people I feel people I know and I'm comfortable with, I like it a lot better.
Yeah,
like I've been on some other panels and it's not as fun when you don't really know the people as well.
Yeah. Right.
And then like knowing all the stuff y'all talk about on the podcast, and so many things I want to say come out that y'all talked about on the podcast, and I'm like,
let me let y'all know, Dena is the reason why I had to push through those
Shadow and Bone
messed up audio recordings of Shadow and Bone and try to get them edited because they did not import correctly. And I worked on, that's the reason why it took me so long to get those last 3 episodes out, because the audio just didn't import correctly. And I didn't feel like going back through and re-recording. And I was like, okay, I'll just get to it. And then Dena saw me at Dragon Con and she was like, y'all left me on the ledge. Y'all stopped talking about Shadow and Bone and I need to finish the series. So I did that just for you, Dena. So those of you who are waiting for Shadow and Bone, y'all can thank Dena because she was the one that was like, please, can you finish it? I sat here and powered through that. Now the first one was the really messed up one. And then the second one wasn't as bad. And then by the time I got to the third one was a breeze. I was like, I don't know what it was with the recording for that episode 6. I don't know what it was that screwed it up so bad. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pay attention to that because I hope that never happens again. That was rough to get through. That was a nightmare. I think altogether, I think it took me about a good 5 hours to get through that one little episode, editing and trying to make sure everything was lined up right. And there was some glitchiness in it. It was horrible. But yeah, so.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, I do that for you, Dena.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Because
You
I was
just have
like,
to come. You just have to come and do panels with us. So we also did a really good panel. There was a really good one that I was on. It was an examination of Wanda Maximoff.
I
missed that one too.
That was really good.
I think I was in a panel.
That was one of those panels that probably could have gone for an extra 45 minutes.
30 minutes, 40 minutes. Yeah.
That panel
was a really good panel.
Yeah, it was. But I love.
I just want to say, like, I realized I don't think I want to be on as many panels because I missed panels. Like last year, I missed sorting the serial killers.
That was a great panel.
I missed that panel, and this year I missed the Wanda Maximoff panel and a couple of others, and I missed the first hour of the Broadway sing along. I said, I'm not going to be on as many panels because I missed.
Yeah, because I missed the Outlander panel. I really wanted to be in there for that because honey, I'm telling you, you and Michelle on the Outlander podcast. Yeah.
We have a lot of fun with Outlander. I mean, it's funny because The Walking Dead and Outlander were two of the reasons why I went on ahead and started a podcast, because most of the people that I know who watched The Walking Dead, they stopped when Glenn died. So, we would talk about The Walking Dead on the other podcast I used to do, Sci-Fi Party Line. And then once Glenn died, pretty much everybody over there stopped watching it. So I had nobody else to talk to about it. And then the same with Outlander, like Outlander, as amazing a show as it is, and as popular as it is, there's not a lot of people that I knew at the time that watched the show. And I just happened to mention it. Michelle, when I started doing the Outlander panels at DragonCon, Michelle was always in the audience. She was like, yeah, they're going to give book spoilers. I don't care. I'm going to go because I love this show. And I was like, oh, I got somebody to talk about it with now. So that's been a fun thing. But I mean, really, that's why I started the podcast, because I was like, I don't want to be on somebody else's show that dictates what we can and what we can't talk about. Like, okay, nobody else is watching this, so I can't talk about it. Well, I need an outlet because I need to talk about this stuff. So yeah, that's where Fandom Hybrid came from. And I was like, oh, I know some folks I can talk about some stuff with. And we've been talking about some stuff for almost 200 episodes. We're almost at 200, guys.
Wow.
Almost at 200.
Crazy.
So
that's insane.
Yeah, we're going to
edit all of those podcasts.
By my lonesome. And I still got like 14 in the queue that I need to do because we've done.
Yeah, because I'm waiting on that House of Dragon finale.
Oh, we're going to get to that this week.
Funny story.
We're going to get to that this week. And I have the Wheel of Time episodes. We started recording those early this year. And then I just realized, I was like, so in the summertime, we had to pause our boys coverage because Mike went on a long ass cruise to Alaska. And then I think after him, Anthony and Michelle went on vacation, and then Lori was doing something, then I was doing something, and then DragonCon, and then it just kind of went back around. Michelle went out of town for a while, and then I was doing this, and I was like, y'all, we never covered Herogasm. And we haven't done the rest of the boys. Michelle mentioned it the other day. She was like, I need y'all to hurry up and cover Herogasm because I need to hear. I was like, wait, we haven't done that yet. There's so much good TV that is like, we're trying to we can't cover everything. I wish we could. We just don't have the time because we all work. We didn't hit the 2 point whatever billion lotto last night
in California.
We definitely
I still don't believe Lori. I think Lori wanted, she ain't telling nobody. That she took way too long to answer that question.
But you know, we didn't win the bill, we didn't win the prize, so we all have to still work. And that kind of makes it difficult because there's so many things that we want to talk about. Like I really wanted to cover Umbrella Academy. Michelle really wants to do Stranger Things, and I want to do Stranger Things. There's still interview with the vampire, the Winchesters is out. There's just so much stuff.
Wait, that's out already?
We still haven't done. We haven't done She-Hulk. We haven't done Miss Marvel.
Right. So it's just kind of like, okay. And then I still have 3 Loki episodes from last year that I need to edit and get out. So I'm just like, y'all, we just need to figure out a way.
Oh my God, we need
to figure out a way to do this so that we can just talk about all the things. I don't know. Maybe we just need to have a 24-hour live channel. We just jump on and just talk about whatever. I mean,
I don't know. A 24-hour Twitch channel. We'll just like jump on. Like I'll jump on my lunch hour, just start talking about shit. Like
now,
I gotta go.
Just in case, we do have a Twitch channel. We just haven't used it. But when we started the podcast, I went on ahead and signed up for one just in case we ever needed to use it. So it is there. So that might be something we can do. So it's out there. But you know, I mean. And in between all of the shows and all of the movies coming out, we have conventions. You know, we still got Casey, Michelle, and I still have to talk about the camp, the Walking Dead weekend that we did. I'm glad we got this CONjuration wrap up going on. And then we have other conventions coming up next year. There's Atlanta Comic Convention in February. Supernatural Convention is coming in March, and I am going. Kat from Sci-Fi Party Line is coming to Atlanta, so we can go together because that was one of the shows that we bonded on, and that was how I kind of really got started in podcasting because she and I would talk Harry Potter and Supernatural. So I'm excited for that. There's some other conventions. I think there's a convention called Nerdy Gras that's here. Multiverse Con happens here. Then of course, Dragon Con is the big con. Casey and I
MomoCon is here.
MomoCon, Atlanta Anime Weekend, which I'm not really into anime, but there are some things that I do like. And I mean, even with animated products, there are some things that I've watched that I would really like to talk about. But when are we going to find the time? I want to talk about Arcane. I want to talk about Castlevania. Castlevania is getting a spinoff. I'm just like, there's so much stuff to talk about. We just got to find the time.
Have you watched Vox Machina?
Not yet. That's on my list. So
that actually was.
And we never talked about The Witcher.
Yeah, Vox Machina was dope. I think that really pushed me into really taking D&D seriously and like getting into it and learning and like learning more and more about it. Is like, plus those people like Critical Role, like when you watch their YouTube channel, it's like they have a continuous campaign that they do because it's like it's so much fun. I'm like, holy shit, that really like helped push me into getting back into D&D.
Okay.
Gosh, so but yeah, Vox Machina is dope.
So there's a lot of things that we want to do. We just got to find the time to do it, you know. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll just keep podcasting and paneling until we figure out how to do this thing full time. But anybody have anything else to say about CONjuration? Again, I love that convention. I'm so glad it is here. I'm so glad that we all get a chance to experience it together because those are like some of the best memories and weekends for me when I get to, because again, I don't get to Atlanta HP meetings a lot. So really the only time I really get to see Dena is like at conventions nowadays. So I love that Dragon Con, I get to see you, and CONjuration, we actually get to hang out. So, we haven't done that in a long time. So I love that we get to do that. Right. Yeah. Mike, what was your experience at CONjuration?
I loved it. Also, shout out to the last day vendors when they're trying to get rid of stuff. Because I just happened to walk by one and I was looking at what she had, and she had like a set of wands. The wands look pretty cool. And she was like most of these wands are like $5. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So I was like looking. Yes. And I was looking in, one called to me.
Oh, so you got a wand.
It is so dope. It's perfectly weathered and it's like perfectly balanced as all things should be.
So now we just got to find you the elusive
get-
Ravenclaw lanyard, and you'll
Yes,
be
I still haven't found my lanyard.
Every
It's
time
like-
we go to a con, he's looking for a Ravenclaw lanyard. He can never find one.
I found the Tom Baker tie, a Tom Baker shawl tie, and I can't find a Ravenclaw lanyard. I'm like,
That's because they just don't put out a ton of Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff stuff. Like, it's just, yeah.
That sounds discriminatory. Where's the manager? Who do I talk
I mean,
to
that's
about
what
that?
they started with in the Harry Potter fandom when they started merchandising. Everything was always Gryffindor, Slytherin. That's how come in my early pictures from like book releases and movie releases.
You have on
you were Gryffindor.
No, I had on Gryffindor stuff.
You had Gryffindor stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was all my children who had on Slytherin stuff.
They had the Slytherin stuff.
But yeah, so they need to bring. Look, the Hufflepuffs the Hufflepuffs won the House Cup for the last 2 years, and we just barely.
I was about to say, was it Slytherin this year?
No, Slytherin dominated this year.
Yeah, this year they did, but the last 2 years Hufflepuff won.
I think Hufflepuffs were putting stuff in the Slytherin Cup this year.
Why would they do
pretty
that?
Sure. I don't know.
So Ravenclaw wouldn't win. You see how they do us, right?
That's a Hufflepuff thing. We won 2 years in a row. Let's let someone else win.
No, not us competitive Hufflepuffs. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look, we love our Slytherins, but we are also competitive. No, we will not do that. That's okay. We're gonna come back next year. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it. So, but yeah, like I said, next year they're doing CONjuration. I believe it is it's like in the middle of the month for next year. Let's see. I'm looking at the calendar. I think it's the 17th, 18th, and 19th next year. So it'll be the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's going to be held at the Sonesta Gwinnett. So, and the tickets are usually really inexpensive. Like you can go for the whole weekend for like $40, which is really good for a con.
Hella good.
Good. Very good. So, those of you who are listening, if you haven't gone or if you've just kind of heard us talk about it and kind of on the fence, go check it out. I mean, even if you do just one day, go on Saturday. Saturday is typically the busiest day. You will definitely find something to do, whether it's games, whether it's panels. They have Quidditch outside. They have a bouncy house for the kids that's open pretty much all weekend long. Like I said, you have the Reptile Society there with their pets. You have vendors. They have food. They finally finished renovating the restaurant in the hotel. Well, in the hotel this year that we were at. So we were actually able to eat on site, limited menu, but still we didn't really have to leave if we didn't want to. But
shout out to Jittery whatever up on the 17th floor.
Oh, yes.
Coffee.
Where you can go get the coffee. Yes. I didn't go this year, but I know I went last year and it was really nice.
And on the 15th floor, I didn't go, but they have a place where you can go pick up quests.
Yes.
I have not done that. And I was like, oh, okay, this might be something to do the next time.
Yeah, we might have to do that next year. And then this next year, we definitely have to make sure we get more pictures together. We didn't take any pictures together this year.
I know.
We were all over the place. And by the time I realized it, Mike was like, oh, we're already gone. I'm like, what? So yeah, so we got to make sure we do that next year. Get some pictures so we can put on the website. But if nobody else has anything to say, I guess we can wrap up this CONjuration wrap up. Dena, thank you so much for joining us at the panels and here on the podcast. We have loved having you. Technically speaking, you are our first official guest because we don't count Michelle because Michelle has, even when Anthony was, on the podcast, Michelle would always be on the side listening and commenting. So I don't consider her being a guest before. So you are our first official guest. So thank you for joining us. Tell everyone where they can find you on the interwebs.
Okay, so basically just look up Drunk and Blurty, Black and Nerdy Drunk and Blurty with Nixon Quiet. It's on the YouTubes. We have an Instagram, a TikTok, and probably something on Facebook. We're not very good at it just yet, but we're getting better, and hopefully we'll grow. And next thing you know, we'll be on our 200th episode.
Okay, that sounds good. So that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. We have a Discord channel. We have a YouTube channel. You can find us there. And we are on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.